Guys, I'm here to get into Mulholland Drive, which was directed by David Lynch, released in the year 2001. And David Lynch wonderfully conveys what a distorted narrative just revolved around entirely just the stream logic and a neo-noir sort of perspective on surrealism. And it feels like this is just Lynch's ultimate take on what an identity crisis is like around having a lot of desire and facing too much failure, which ultimately just ends up kind of feeling like Lynch is just a completely original kind of statement about maybe just a lot of the darkest elements of a lot of the 20th century art and kind of just finding this perfect 21st century way of perceiving all of that. And then you watch just displays two characters here, and there's one that represents what a fantasy state of mind is like as she dreams of happiness and success, while the other shade of her is living in a very harsh and tormented sort of reality. And there's just all kinds of visual motif going on in this film. I mean, all kinds of just layers of like symbols that just keep reoccurring all throughout. I think my absolute favorite would be that blue box, which just kind of reoccurs to display an ultimate perspective on, you could say, a distortion between fantasy and reality. And this whole project, it kind of feels like a nightmare happening. I mean, this is really a horror film, I feel like, at heart. There's a lot of Lynch films are, and I think this is one that really has that. It's like a very horrifying, very disturbing, and just very intuitively emotional kind of film, suspenseful, as Lynch is just guided by intuition. And I think this is a film that entirely relies on intuition and feeling. It's just like the cinematography by Peter Dimming combined with the Angelo Badalamenti soundtrack makes this completely original and kind of provoking a very unique sort of dreadful sort of tone and spirit, which again, I believe this is an ultimate cleansing of maybe like just kind of like a perfect way of looking at some of the most dark, tormented art of the 20th century and maybe like how to look at it in a 21st century modern kind of lens. And I think this is just a very sensory project that Lynch was on to with this one, as well as just a very substantial, like, emotional film. It really speaks to the heart, as this is a film that's meant to be felt more than understood in a lot of ways, much like how Stanley Kubrick films offer, especially 2001: A Space Odyssey. I think of like this is like almost like a dark end of that coin in a lot of ways. And I feel like this is just perhaps his greatest, like, I mean, like, I know Twin Peaks: The Returns was an epic favorite, perhaps my favorite, but this kind of feels like it's almost technically his greatest artistic statement. I think this is just a mesmerizing portrayal of what it is to just kind of be on, again, just in this delusional pattern, facing endless patterns of like delusion versus reality. And yeah, this is one that just ultimately gets directly to the heart about just everything about it. Really, it's mesmerizing.